Hello, everyone. We are on to the next session here. It is a panel discussion with some of our partners here at Kobiton who are sponsoring the event as well. So our channel lead, Sydney Weber, will be leading the discussion along with some of the partners from Appsurify and Appdome. So with that, I am going to bring them to the stage. And Sydney, the floor is yours.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. So welcome to our panel discussion today. We are going to be talking about accelerating mobile app delivery and testing. So let me introduce you to our panelists today. So we have Johnson, who is the co-founder and CEO of Appsurify. We have Karen, who is the SVP of Product, Mobile DevOps, and Security Solutions from Appdome. And we have our very own Lindsay, who is our head of customer success here at Kobiton. So Johnson, can you give us a little bit of a brief overview about Appsurify?
Yeah, good having you today, Sydney. Appsurify is a AI-powered risk-based testing solution. And what that means is when developers change the application, we're able to determine where that change was made and auto-select and execute just a few tests associated with that change area. So rather than running 100% of your mobile Appium test, we're able to just focus on the top 5% of tests and still catching the functional regressions in that change set. So optimizing CI pipelines, optimizing test runs to get feedback faster to developers to find those functional regressions earlier to help increase get-to-market timing.
Awesome. Thank you. Karen, can you tell us a little bit about Appdome?
Yes, thank you, Sydney and Kobiton for this opportunity. So Appdome as a company, our mission is to protect every mobile app in the world and the people who use these mobile apps in their lives and at work. As a technology, Appdome is a platform for building, testing, releasing, and monitoring all mobile app protections in the DevOps CI/CD pipeline. So our customers are able to accelerate the delivery of mobile app security, anti-fraud, anti-malware, anti-cheat, anti-bot, and other defenses in Android and iOS apps.
Awesome. And Lindsay, let's hear a little bit about Kobiton.
Well, if you guys have not planned on hearing a lot about Kobiton today, we're Enable Bettering Mobile Delivery. And in our customer success function, we're very interested in learning more about what our customers are trying to achieve with their specific mobile apps and defining new milestones for them to conquer and understanding where Kobiton can be a tool in their tool belt to help them achieve it.
Awesome. So before we jump right in with some of the questions that were submitted online, we do want to make note that in the chat, if you have any questions for our panelists, please enter them in the chat. And at the very end, I will run through any of those. So to kick us off, Karen, how have you seen the mobile app delivery landscape evolve in the recent years?
So mainly what we're seeing is the speed of delivery, the speed of the ability to create new mobile apps, in spite of all the new frameworks that are out there and available, in spite of all the new operating systems for Android and iOS, and all the specific functionality that make mobile apps sticky and interesting to use. We see that developers are under a lot of pressure to deliver these new features as well as keep up with the security challenges. And there are a number of them because security attacks are just going to happen. With Gen AI, those attacks are just going to happen at a faster rate. There are many marketplaces out there where hackers will take the malware that they produce and sell them to other hackers. The hackers are using the same tools that developers use and making these new hacks, the new malware that they deliver, even more powerful. So there are a lot of challenges that the mobile app developers face, as well as being able to deliver these new apps.
Awesome. There we go. That sounds a little better. I apologize. I had a little bit of noise coming through. Johnson, quick question for you. How does effective testing contribute to faster app delivering, and how might testing become a bottleneck?
Yeah, so I always kind of like to kind of flip this a little bit with ineffective testing. So when you have ineffective testing, you're catching bugs late in the process, they get into production, pushing back release deadlines. So the reason why, we kind of start shifting to faster app delivery is because, they had this whole idea concept of waterfall. And I apologize, HOA landscaping just came right at the time of this session. So I completely migrated to a different room right now, but there's a big weed whacker right outside my door. So I apologize if you hear, a tree or something like that whack against the wall. What we're talking about is accelerating app delivery and effective testing and helping you to deliver that. And automation is just one piece of the puzzle right there. You also have manual testing. But the more you can automate, the more you can actually automate that process and kick off, the faster you can potentially find those regressions earlier in the cycle. And one of the key things that we find is that we ask is, are people running their tests as part of the CI/CD pipeline? Because very often you have these UI integration test suites, they're running outside the CI pipeline because they're too big to be put into the CI pipeline to be part of that whole build process. So one area that we find to help overcome that bottleneck is by just selecting which tests are relevant given a per change basis. So you can bring that full UI feedback into the CI pipeline so that developers and testers can get that full regression feedback by only running maybe just a smart subset of tests, which is very compelling and helps accelerate go-to-market timing.
Yeah, let's double down there a little bit. What testing strategies and practices are most effective in accelerating the development cycle?
Yeah, honestly, it just we always like the feedback loop and the developers, the QAs developers. If we can somehow merge those to be on top of each other, and there would be just a very strong line of communication, and that's when you're going to have the highest velocity for the whole team. And the way to do that is to not have the two as siloed. And that's where the beauty of the CI pipeline and automated testing really kind of comes into play, because if you can take that automation testing and bring it closer and closer and closer, shifting it left to the top of the developer, you can have less issues with requirements, you have less issues down the road because there's just a strong feedback channel between testing and development, basically being on top of each other. And that's really hard to achieve because if you build out this big UI, mobile testing suite, that could take hours to run on a given change. So this, with Appsurify, for us speaking personally, is basically a way to just pick which tests are relevant given the change area. So if a developer makes a change to the log on button, you're just running the test associated with the log on button. You're not running tests in the account section or the user profile section. You're just running the test associated with the log on button. So you're running maybe a very small percentage of tests, so you can get that regression feedback to developers on a per commit basis. And while you're also doing that, you're also running less tests. Beforehand, you're running all these tests in parallel, 100% of your tests, but you have a lot of servers to keep time down. Now you're just running maybe 5% or 10% of tests and getting that feedback faster, while also saving a lot of money on infrastructure at the same time.
And to add a different viewpoint from what Johnson said, I love what he talked about in putting the development team and the QA team together on top of one another, and thinking about the cycle that a piece of code goes from creation to release. If you are creating the ability to understand what could be a defect at a functional level during that development life cycle, and then allowing QA to do what they actually do best, look for things that are not instantly obvious that could go wrong, that could break within your mobile app, or how a user may move around your app and interact with certain components to it, to find things that they need to consider to reiterate back into the testing process before a bug gets released into code.
That makes sense. So Lindsay, let's stick with you for a moment. How does automation and AI enhance our mobile app testing?
So I always tell people, as human beings, we're limited. I can only do so many tasks at a given time, and I only get so many hours in a day, even if someone figures out how to not have to sleep. And so if I have a partner, and I call that partner AI, who has the ability to work alongside me and to be able to double check my work, I'm going to be more efficient. And I believe one of the greatest examples of that is something that we offer here at Kobiton in accessibility testing. Because I, as maybe a functional tester in the app who is clicking through and ensuring that I'm running my test case, I'm not focusing in on, is the color contrast on this page something that goes against guidelines that our accessibility team may be concerned about when we finally get this set of code all the way to them normally at the end of the testing process. I'm not. And I don't have the time and ability to be focused on that. But if I have AI running in the background while I'm working through my functional tests, whether they are automated or manual, and I'm reviewing everything at the end of my session in Session Explorer, and I have a little hand raised that's a yellow dot that says, hey, there's something here you may want to take a look at. I wasn't having to look for it, and I can quickly send that to my accessibility team or even my developers and say, hey, this is something that we need to be considering as a design change or a functionality change that could protect our organization from particular lawsuit. And I think that is something that expands my ability as a functional tester to that is something that can speed up the path of delivery.
Okay. Keeping on the topic of automation and AI, this is a question for the entire group here, if anyone has any insight, but are there any specific tools or technologies that any of your companies offer in regards to AI and mobile testing? Karen?
Yeah, so that's actually something that is part of the base of Appdome's technology. What we do is automate the delivery of protections for mobile apps. And what that means is we look at the app after the app has been loaded to our platform, and we look at the protections that the customer wants to add. Say it's encryption or obfuscation. And we match, and this is our AI technology doing this, matching the protections that people want to add to the app itself and optimizing how those protections are added. So there's a microservices architecture, and we're simply mapping the plugins that are needed to be added to the app in an automated way so that developers don't have to code, they don't have to use SDKs. It's all optimized for them. And in that process, not only are we optimizing how the protections are added, we're also optimizing for the size of the app after the protections are added, since we know that a lot of organizations are concerned about an increased size in the app.
Got it. Karen, let's stick with you too. How can companies like Appsurify and Appdome and Kobiton, all work together to streamline the mobile app delivery and testing process?
Right. So there's a couple of things. The first is, in the testing process, when you have a secured app, oftentimes the security protections that have been added may shut down, the app, or as the app is being tested, the app will shut down because these security protections are in there. So, for example, you may have protection against the use of emulators. Now, in your testing automation process, you might have been using, an emulator, and because Appdome detects that the emulator is being used, it'll shut down the app. Now, what we're doing with Kobiton, and we're really excited about, is basically making sure that we know that's happening. So we're trusting Kobiton, so to speak, so that when Kobiton is testing an Appdome secured app, Appdome says, I know Kobiton is testing me, therefore I trust it and I will not shut down and let Kobiton continue to test. And so I think that's really exciting because it is making the testing process that more intelligent. And like you were saying, Lindsay, it's another sort of part of the process where you have intelligence that is a partner, in automating this process. The second thing that I think that's really exciting, this goes back to a point, Lindsay, that you made, as well as Johnston, you made about AI, and that is we have really interesting security events that we're capturing in Appdome. And those security events can be very informative during the testing process, and when presented in context for a particular app, for a particular test, can be very useful in testing the functionality of the app.
So, and I'd like to double down there again. What are some of the benefits of integrating different tools and services in the process?
Yeah, so there are a number of benefits. The first is, going along that theme of, okay, we have now visibility for the end user, whether that end user is a tester, a test automation person, or that person is a security person. So in the operations part of the DevOps lifecycle, having this continuous security is important, obviously for security, but definitely in the development part of the cycle, enabling the testing automation person to have that visibility is important as well. And so what you can see then are, in the automation, being able to have the data in a form that the persona, the specific individual, can see. And that means they can see what apps by OS version are being attacked and apply and understand how to deal with the security events that are coming up. And that is specific also to the device that they're testing.
That makes sense.
What I hear from a lot of our customers is understanding vulnerabilities, whether they're defects or security breach opportunities by device and OS, and understanding where that impacts their customer base. That knowledge can be power for them to understand where they need to be able to spend additional development effort or additional testing efforts in ensuring that they are shoring up that vulnerability. And in order to do that, many times you need to know that you have a tool set that can work flawlessly through the entire process. When you see teams who are either working as individuals in silos or their teams are truncated off from one another, that additional time and effort that it takes to communicate what's being done or what needs to be done is time lost from release or time lost from testing to ensure that we aren't releasing issues. And so the importance of ensuring that you have a tech stack that works towards your end goal and that all of those components are perfectly seamlessly tied together can be the difference between being excellent at mobile app delivery and getting to the finish line at some point, whether that's on time or delayed.
Exactly. And so you are basically verifying security enforcement as part of a single automated standard process. And then in that way, you can eliminate the need for, say, split testing paths like you were talking about, and verifying any advanced UI user experience or UI handling when these attacks happen.
Great. Love the discussion. Also, I apologize, Johnson, it seems to be yard day at my house as well. So I apologize in advance. Johnson, coming back to you real fast. How do you strike a balance between, delivering apps quickly and ensuring a high quality user experience?
Yeah, so we like to say, like, when we come into a new user base, that we're going to test your product 100 times more frequently than you would have in any given time. Because what we're doing is we're just focusing on the change area. Now, this is how Google and Meta test. They built these proprietary in-house test platforms. And what they do is during the day, when butts are in seats, developers are working, you get a smart subset given their change area. And then what that essentially is doing, you're inserting a very small element of risk. You're inserting AI to choose which test to select given a developer change area. Now, that AI model, you can talk to anybody in the market. AI is never 100% accurate. If they ever do, then run the other way. AI is only going to be able to provide so much accuracy at any given time because there's so much inner workings and fine tuning and so forth. So what we're doing is we're inserting a very small controlled amount of risk. And I'm getting a lot of background noise. I don't know if that's me or right now. But essentially, inserting a very small element of risk to get 10x output, and then to just run smart subsets throughout the day in the change areas. And then depending on your test strategy, you run your full test suite nightly or every other night or potentially on the weekends. So most enterprises that we work with, they're running smart subsets throughout the weekday, throughout the week when production developers are working. And then on the weekend, they film that full regression. So you kind of have that balancing act of very fast feedback to developers, but also a catch-all safeguard before releasing it to the next stage of development or releasing it into production. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. Faster delivery, faster feedback, and also that catch-all in case of any leakage. I hope that helps. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Karen, what in that same conversation, what challenges are organizations facing in the DevOps lifecycle with respect to security and testing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we touched on a few of those elements earlier. But if we divide up the DevOps lifecycle into dev and ops and look at the development part first, in the development part, there are a number of things that organizations will do before they actually do and add the security part into the product, into the app. And that includes vulnerability testing, includes scanning, pen testing. It's basically where they're identifying the security issues in the app. Now, the challenge is once those issues have been identified, developers have to manually code in the fixes or resolve the issues, and that takes time and could delay the release. So the organization, in some cases, instead of dealing with those delays, will waiver the issue away, and that only increases the risk of the app once it's released. Now, if the developer does code in the security fixes, and the app can't be tested in an automated way, like we talked about earlier, again, the app will shut down, because it's not recognizing that it is being tested in an automated way. And so this is, again, another issue where the automation team has to go back and manually test, which would delay the release. So there are a number of places in the development part of the cycle that break down or that are challenging and slow down. Today, the second part of the cycle, operations, also has a number of issues. And those issues have to deal with having visibility and monitoring security. And so in this part of the cycle, you're looking at operation. When an issue is identified, the same sort of problems occur where once it's identified, it goes back to the developer. The developer has to code in a fix. If they aren't able to, then the issue is wavered away. So how do you identify these issues and then automate the remediation in a seamless way? And those are the big challenges that we see organizations face today.
Sounds good. Yep. Guys, I just want to thank you all for your participation today. We're coming up on the end of our session. So we do have some questions from the audience. What are some mobile testing tools and resources that can be used to speed up the testing process, especially when times are tight? So this is open forum. Anybody want to grab that one?
I think you have to ask yourselves why the speed the most important thing to your organization and your mobile app, because there is an opportunity to say we need to slow down if quality is the most important factor to your end users on your application. But the best way to achieve speed is to create more testing. And so that's either through human interaction and manual testing, and then you have to bring in more people, or you can learn to automate. And one of the beautiful things about working for Kobiton is we offer different solutions. We have a scriptless option that can allow you to automate tests and then be able to run that or on revisits across other devices. That can sometimes help create or inject speed into a process for an organization that's struggling to figure out the direction they want to take for mobile automation. But outside of that, it really comes down to understanding where speed and quality need to meet together when it comes to an individual release.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off that, you hear a lot of new tools with ChatGPT spinning up it's easier than ever to write automated tests. And we're kind of focused on the automation test side of the house. And we've seen companies, go from 1,000 tests to 10,000 tests in the span of 3 months. A couple of years ago, that would have taken 3 years. So the issue is that you could spin up a lot of tests, but you got to make sure that the tests are actually testing what they're intended to test and validate the actual outcomes and the requirements. So it's more than ever to kind of hone in on, not necessarily just getting a massive amount of tests coverage, but also just building the right type of test framework to actually deliver what you intended to be delivering, and choose carefully there.
And this is why I'm so excited about, in particular, the Appdome and Kobiton integration is that we're able to really automate the development of security features, the testing of those security features through this integration, this pre-built integration that we have. And so that is a huge lift in the process, a huge acceleration of the development process, because they don't have to go back and forth, do anything manually, whether it's development or testing. And they don't have to go back and just, and oftentimes companies will make this choice is to increase risk by not adding security or not doing the testing, right? They can have it all and still deliver the app on time.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys so much for sharing and participating in our panel today. We are coming up on the end. So we're going to wrap it up. I would love, Lindsay, Johnson, Karen, any parting words or tips you may have to test smarter or more securely for our audience today? Johnson, we can start with you.
Yeah. There's so many great tools out there in the market right now. And it really depends on the project that you're really working to build out. But at the end of the day, you want to get out the door. And you want to out the door with a good user experience. So just planning those requirements, building out the foundation, and kind of really starting to hone in on see where you can automate, but also respect where you can't automate and keep the manual side, because there's always going to be a manual component. And that's just one of the core competencies and strengths of Kobiton, is that you really kind of get that robust manual element of testing within it. And then for the cases you can automate, how can you get those UI tests, which could take 5 to 10 minutes, sooner and earlier and closer to the developer? Because that's ultimately the one who's going to be pushing that release, pushing it out. So if you can get testing on top of development, and really so they're not two siloed organizations, but really just speaking one language, that's when it really be really powerful. Because we see the future outlook of testing as when a developer makes a change. So is there coverage for this test? Is there coverage for this change? Because now there are tools, or soon to be tools, they're going to be able to write out tests on change area that don't necessarily have automation test coverage. And that's a really exciting journey that we're going on. But as I mentioned earlier with ChatGPT, suddenly the AI could be spinning up a bunch of tests for this change area that has nothing to do with anything. So you always got to be really on top of it to make sure that these newly introduced tests are relevant for your goals and ambitions.
Yes,
Awesome.
and I would
Thank
just
you.
add to that and build on it with saying there's the data that is so important to the automation tester and to any organization. Having that information increases the value of that tester's user experience. It also increases, the value of the end user's experience. But certainly having that data at your fingertips in context makes the test automation person that much more powerful, whether it is, like Dawson, you're saying, a manual or a automated test.
And I would say it's really important to understand your partners and making sure your partners understand the importance of your app. Your app is not vanilla. You don't want it to be something that may or may not sit on someone's phone. There's a business impact to that, and understanding the incremental changes that you can introduce through the ever-changing landscape of mobile app development can help you get faster. It can help increase your quality. It can help drive the ROI that your mobile app delivery can build for your business, or it can create efficiencies for the people who use it. And understanding the why behind it and working together, you can have all of that within a reasonable period of time.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Lindsay, Karen, Johnson, it has been a pleasure.